Now let us start with the third one is hercogamy. What is hercogamy? Hercogamy is, herco means barrier, obstruction, hercogamy. Is it all right? So what is this is a condition in which there is a barrier between the pistil and the stamen. Is it all right? Usually a hood-like barrier is there between. This is only, these are all modifications to stop self-pollination. Is it clear? So there is a barrier, a hood-like structure present which stops the entry of or the transfer of pollen grain from the same flower, from the anther to the stigma of the same flower. Is it clear? So this is what is a hood-like barrier. Hood-like barrier. Okay, example is pansy. See, if you remember, I had already given you the example of pansy, and there I had mentioned also that I will be giving you pansy plants produce, I am repeating once more, pansy plants produces two kinds of flowers. One is aerial, brightly colored, beautiful flowers, you know, brightly colored, beautiful flowers, pansy flowers are, is it all right, aerial, so they are insect pollinated flowers, and some are underground and they do not open at all, they are not brightly colored, they are closed, they are, you know, they do not open at all. So what kind of pollination do we call it here? Cleistogamy. Here I am using the same flower, same plant, same flower, but now I am talking about the flower which are aerial. So hercogamy is pansy. Pansy doesn't allow self-pollination because there is a barrier, a hood-like structure between androecium and gynoecium, or we can say pistil and stamen. Is it all right? The last one is Hetero Style. Okay, so Hetero Style, that means the position of the male and female part are very different, is it clear? Very differently placed. In some cases the androecium is much above the gynoecium, or stamen are located much above the pistil. In some, the pistil is located much above the stamen. Example is primrose. Is it? So I'll show you what kind of. So primrose, if you see, they are like, if you see you open it up, you will find the flower, there are two types of flowers. Is it clear? Of course I have shown it very long, they are not that long, but here, so the flowers are of two types. Is it? A very simple pistil is there. In some, the pistil is long. Is it all right? Is long. Pistil is long. This is the pistil. All right. And the anthers are located here, much below. Anthers are located. The stamen is located much below. Is it all right? And in some, the same plant, in the same plant you will find that some of the flowers, the anthers are, the stamen is located on top here. The stamen is located on top and the pistil is a small structure. Is it all right? So we call it heterostyle. The position of the two reproductive holes are very different, much above the other. One is much above the other. Is it all right? So in some, the gynoecium or the pistil is longer, is located in the superior position. In some, the stamen are located in the superior position. So that is called heterostyle. One thing we will see, other than unisexuality, we have done dichogamy, we have done hercogamy, we have done heterostyle, we have done self-sterility, all are bisexual flowers. Is it clear? But so what do we know? All bisexual flowers cannot be self-pollinated. There should be some conditions. They should be self-pollinated. Means what are the conditions of a self-pollinated flower? They should be bisexual. Not only bisexual, the androecium and gynoecium should mature at the the same time we call it homogamy. They should not be self-sterile. Is it clear? So there are conditions, and these are the conditions where the flower, in spite of being bisexual, they cannot carry out self-pollination. Okay. So let us do the types of pollination. We have done the types. So we have done the types of pollination. Now we will be doing the types of cross pollination. Is it all right? So cross pollination, we have to do 3 kinds of. But I'll be using few terms, extra terms for you. Is it clear? So that is entomophily. Anemophily and hydrophily. Entomophily means the flower has entomophilous means, phily means should have affinity, love, that is. So entomophily is insect loving flower. Is it all right? So these kind of flowers have to attract insects. Is it clear? For that, the flower has to be very showy. The flower has to be showy. How showy? They are large. If they are brightly colored. Is it clear? In some cases it is seen that the flowers are not large, they are tiny. So what happens? They grow in cluster. For example, sunflower, marigold. Is it clear? They grow in cluster so that they become prominent, very conspicuous. They become very clear. Is it all right? So first thing, either they are showy, and if showy and large, is it clear? If not large, they grow in cluster. Dahlia grow in cluster. The same flower which you see near our school office just after winter vacation, large, beautiful colored, we have different color flowers, large flowers, those are dahlia. Is it clear? So they grow in cluster. Okay. Now they produce pollen grains. Pollen grains are produced in large number, but not like the other, means comparatively large. If you compare with self-pollination, comparatively more number of pollen grains are produced, and pollen grains are sticky. You know, they are little hairy and sticky. Why? So that when the insects come and sit, they can easily stick to their legs or to the body part. Sorry, I missed out one more thing. They produce scent and nectar, and or nectar. Is it all right? Pollen grains are sticky. So that they can easily stick to the legs and the body parts of the insect. Is it clear? Pollen grains are sticky, and the stigma, usually the pistil is not usually long and hanging out, it is small. Is it all right? The stigma is sticky. I am just giving you the idea. Stigma is sticky. Is it all right? What is the meaning? Meaning is, see the stigma. Is it clear? Anther. Anther means as anther is present here. So when the insect, say honeybee, enters into the flower to suck nectar, it touches the pollen grains. Is it clear? So the pollen grains are sticky. So they are sticky because they easily get stuck to the body parts, either the body or the legs of the, head, any part of the insect. Is it clear? Insect has nothing to do with the pollen grains. It is getting in to get nectar. While it is going in, it touches the pollen grains and it collects. Is it clear? Now it goes to another flower. All right, another flower. Suppose it goes to another flower. Okay, here is another flower. I am not doing the male part. The insect is carrying the pollen grains on the body. It is getting into the second flower to suck the nectar. It has the pollen grain stuck on the body. So while it gets in, the sticky stigma receives the pollen grain immediately. That is why the stigma is also little sticky, little hairy. Alright, so these are the basics. So what are entomophilous flowers like? They are showy, they are large. If they are small, they grow in cluster so that they become prominent. Is it clear? They produce scent, they produce nectar to attract insects. Pollen grains are produced as comparatively, you know, out of these three pollination, this kind of pollination produces least amount of pollen grains. Is it clear? And the stigma has to be sticky. Okay. Now we come to anemophilous flower. Anemophily. What is anemophily? This is insect pollination. Insect pollination. What is anemophily? Anemophily is wind pollination. Is it? So wind need not be attracted. That is the reason the flowers are not showy. They are small. They do not waste energy in making the flower showy. What is here? They produce lot of pollen grains. Why do they produce lot of pollen grains? Because, you know, wind blows the pollen grains. The pollen grains are very light and dry. All right. See the flowers. Suppose this is the flower. The stigma hangs outside. Not the stigma. Sorry. The stamen hangs outside. Is it all right? The anther is very, you know, we call this kind of anther as versatile. Okay, what is versatile? This is the, you know, this is filament and this is anther, and it keeps moving like this. It hangs like this. Is it clear? Very loosely, you know, it hangs little bit, you touch and it hangs like this. Is it all right? Okay, it swings like this. Is it all right? So, and it produces pollen grain. Okay, this is the flower. This is the flower. So the stamen is long and it hangs outside, producing large number of pollen grains. The pollen grains are dry so that they can be easily carried by the wind. All right, and the anthers are versatile. Versatile is a kind of anther. What is a kind of versatile? What the anthers are very loosely attached, so little bit of wind can make the anthers move, and as the anther moves, the pollen grains are given out. Is it clear? And these pollen grains are carried by the wind to the female flowers. Now female flowers have to receive the female part. The female part have to receive, this is the female part, again this is the flower. Okay, the female part is also long and protruding outside. Is it? It is hanging outside. What is the reason for it? And this is also, so what is the reason? And the stigma is again sticky, is hairy. The stigma is hairy. What is the reason? When it comes, the wind brings, when the wind brings the pollen grain, it can be caught easily by the stigma. It is hairy. Is it all right? So what are the things we have seen in anemophilous flower? They are not showy. They do not produce scent, they do not produce nectar because they don't have to attract insect. Is it clear? Instead, what are they? They produce lot of pollen grains. Energy is, why? Because lot of pollen grains, maybe wind is blowing in a wrong direction, or lot of pollen grains are not reaching here. It's carried away somewhere else. Lot of pollen grains are wasted. All right. So the pollen grains are not wasted. Pollen grains are wasted. So lot of pollen grains are produced. Is it all right? The pollen grains are light. The stamen is hanging outside. Anther is versatile, producing lot of pollen grains. Is it clear? And the stigma is hairy.